Hey, everybody. This is Jared, not aliens, and Jim Goodall, and we are joining you for our normal, almost actual knock on wood, New Year every Thursday fireside chat. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. I just this morning I received my correction sheet for my newest book. Just
Oh,
we're just
congratulations.
correct, just doing the captions, and it's 65,000 words, and it's 1,300 photos. I have to go through and make sure that everything melds together properly.
Oh my gosh. So your correction sheet is half the size of the book already?
Pretty much, pretty much.
Oh, geez. Uh,
And I'm dealing with English, Englishmen. And our English is different in the UK than it is here.
oh, how
We
many
have the
corrections are you
American
doing?
version of English, and they have the Queen's version of English.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you being corrected twice?
Yeah, I'm
Are,
married, so I'm corrected all the time.
oh,
But
so
she's
before,
but she's sweet.
yeah, I'm assuming she's doing good.
Yep, she's doing really good.
All right. So if you do the corrections, how soon until your newest book comes out?
They said it'll be this summer, so figured June, July, and this is 320 some odd pages. Say one photo short of 1,300. And about 60,000 words of text. So
Well, can they just squeeze one more photo of you in there to call it 1300 even?
I'm actually adding another photo, so it will come to 1,300. Actually, it doesn't happen very often because I have a really good memory for images, but the same image appeared twice, about 20, 30 pages apart. And the editor said, or the publisher said, "Oh, you've used this thing twice. Should we eliminate it?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll replace it. I'm not going to eliminate it." So I have a really good one for it.
All
So
right,
how's
cool.
so how's your day?
It's I'm moving my own edits along, and we're working on those Belize inquiries so that we
Yep.
can actually get the team together that we need in order to go and explore and film. And it's been a good day. It's exciting. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, I had just a devil of a time to try to get my passport renewed. And they bounced my photo back, probably a dozen times every time I try to run it through. Send it off. They let me know it's not acceptable. So I,
Oh,
th- I sent another package out, and they should get it Monday. And
well,
I tried to do it
I,
online. I tried to do it online. It wasn't working. So I mailed mine in for rapid response. So I will get it in short order.
yeah, I went in person to one of those city halls. It's not very busy. And the guy who was there was like, well, do you want me to help you with this? Because most people do it wrong and it doesn't come out right. So you better go ahead and let me help. And
Yeah.
so even right down to where you put the staples for the photos. Um, so we have some people say hello to. Wayne's here, Michigan UFO sightings. Hey, John, and well, I know there are some people planning on joining us tonight. We I don't even know where we should start between the last thing on the passport. I did the fast expedited thing, and I
Yeah.
got my pass. It really does help to put down when do you plan to travel. They tend to get you the passport quickly. I got mine. I figured I wouldn't see it for like 6 weeks. I got from the time I sent it and received it back, it was barely 2 weeks.
Wow.
I was really impressed. They did a really good job. So, but I went in person and had the guy who was like, you got to put the staple above the photo here or they'll reject it. And he knew everything. And
Yeah.
it was great. But I mean, you are a gambling man. I mean, filling out a passport online, I don't think that works ever, does it? I mean, if
What I
anyone
don't
wants to
know.
talk about it.
And the images that I was using, I went to UPS, and they have specific service for know exactly how big the thing has to be and the resolution and the whole bit, and it wasn't any different than mine. I mean, what I submitted, but this one's going by snail mail, but I went
Yep.
priority mail. I went priority.
Well, um, we still have to chat eventually when people come in. Uh, but before we get to that comment, we have a follow up from last week. There was that whole confusion about Oklahoma having a SR-71 Blackbird, and what did you
Right.
find out?
Well, it's a B2, a B1 bomber. Now I sent to the image in via email. Let me see if I not aliens proposed. No. Come on, where in the heck is it? Okay. And I sent it off to you. When was the date? It was the 19th. It should be
Yeah,
in,
you know what?
should be in your email. It's an aerial shot, and I identified the freeway, which is the
I'll see if I
U.S.
can pull it up quick.
Yeah, and it says big dark airplane in OKC, because they have a little air museum. They have a B1, a B52, KC 97, F4, KC 135, an A6, a Goonie Bird, B47. It looks like an F105, and an A7. Now, Tinker is the depot for the Air Force for your large airplanes, the bombers and stuff. And
Well, I'll pull it up if I can manage to. Um, let's see. Apparently, I have. When did you send it?
on the 19th,
Oh, I can't believe how much. You've been a busy emailer.
and it's
The dark, big. All right, I'm downloading it for everyone just so that we can take a look at it. John, Jared here, and what is this? Oh, I might as well get to this while I'm pulling this up. Jim, what's up? Uh, John said he loved your photos. What is up with the? What was the? What'd you have up
well,
last night?
I just had primarily one image. It was, and I don't have any information on it. I don't know who took who took the photo, when it was taken, but it is a beautiful side shot of a very, very large UFO. And let me see if I can. Okay. I'm going to email it to you,
Sure.
and I'm going to, and, okay, UFO, and all it's going to say is UFO, and I got this,
Oh gosh.
and it just went. It just went.
Okay. Well, let's see if I can bring this one on for the show. Since we're doing this, present. Uh, okay. All right, let's not do that then. Let's just open it back up. I am going to Apparently, I'm making this hard on myself, so I should have left it open. I was trying to make it. I thought I was being smart, but apparently I closed it out, folks. I had the Tinker Air Museum photo up, and I let it close after an unexcusable amount of processing time. And now, all right, so let's see if I can go back to our screen here, and we'll let's get this in. So here comes share screen. Uh, let's see. I don't. Here we go. Ta-da!
That's it. And what he saw was the B1 that I have highlighted with the red arrows. I mean,
Yep, hard to miss
yeah,
right here.
and it's dark in color, so if you don't if you're not sure what you're looking at and you just take a quick glance, it can be confused to be anything. And then the next image, and if you want, I'll just put it in my backdrop. And
Sure. Well, we'll let everybody take a decent look at this one. Of course, obviously, download it, save it. But this is not a Blackbird. So we will. Let's see. Oh, we lost Jim. I don't know what happened. So for everyone watching, uh, yeah, great minds don't like tech. Here's the funny thing, guys. So I used to be a Microsoft certified systems engineer, a Cisco certified network admin. I was working on my Cisco certified internet networking expert, and I was in IT uh, in corporations for 5 years. And privately, I'm in that sweet spot generation where they were teaching us programming when we were kids. So I'm no expert. Should I have started one of the great multi-million dollar original internet businesses? Probably, but I didn't really get there. So anyway, that was my a little bit of a background. But this some of this tech issue stuff, I feel like is just a case of us getting technology that they want you to upgrade for nothing. Anyway, Jim, you're back. I lost you there
yeah,
for.
yeah, I had fat fingers, and I instead of hitting, you know, go to my settings page, I hit leave. So this is this is the
Oh,
that's a beautiful shot. I don't know who
wow.
took it.
And that's is that recent?
I don't know. I mean, I saw it for the first time yesterday, and that's when I got it and I cleaned it up. It had a lot of scratches and crap on it, and it was such a pristine, sharp, unfuzzy, blurred, whatever you want to call it, image, and I cleaned up the back, the spots and the scratches, and then darkened it a little bit and tried to sharpen it with some of my software. So that's what we got right there. That's what I put on last night. I would love to have someone who knows, where that came from, who shot it, and when and where. I would really like that if it's possible. So
Yeah. Well, Wayne's. There we go. Why the front door? That's awesome. Uh, that's Wayne.
oh
Uh, the the they keep talking about how there's more and more UFO sightings that are interfering with. There does seem to be either it's some new collective misinformation, or there seems to be more acknowledgement that there are objects flying around that are either we're getting advanced enough to get into their space more, or we're we're just getting at least fast enough to see them. I
what
don't know.
I,
What do you
I
think?
also think it's getting closer to disclosure.
I wish it.
It's been ramping up significantly in the last 2 years, And maybe they're looking at what's happening in the world and say, oh, we got to do something, or it may not be here next time we want to go visit it.
Well, the whole thing is frustrating. As we've been getting ready for Belize, and I'm trying to be concise about how important is it that we understand the foundations of these buildings. And I never get past that. Well, if we understand the foundations and of the constructions, we can reverse engineer other frequency and energy technology, and we're making leaps and bounds at these flying speeds and different communication technology. However, we're not, you know making whatever is putting these craft in the air, we're not there yet. And it's not just the craft, it's the associated technologies that I think when we do finally get to the foundations of these megalithic buildings, and there is no sidestepping off of the complexity of them, that maybe we can start connecting the dots on some of the information that is um, for us, for really connecting not just our amnesia and our past, but current medical technical solutions. And I don't think enough can be said about digging in the dirt could reveal more than just an anthology of anthropological records and where there's a bunch of tombs and churches.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts.
What's going to be interesting? We don't know if these sites were plundered, 500 years ago. If there's still virgin territory,
Yeah.
there may be some exciting finds in there. I mean,
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, that's the other thing. I'm not opposed to us finding another Tutankhamun or a virgin. It's not like they dug up every megalithic block. I mean, the majority of what we're finding is you have all these dynastic peoples like the Mayans just building on top or recarving something that was left
yeah,
for them.
repurposing
I
it. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I bet they dug underneath it. I bet somebody in 100 years or 500 years or in a 600-year window said, you know what? We should bury our chief on the corner of this building because it represents a shooting star we saw on Thursday. And they could have done an intrusive burial and screwed it up, or um, but I don't think every single megalithic building or platform or construction that was left was touched by dynastic people in the last 6,000 years. I don't think they tried to dig it up. I think they added on. So a lot of that virgin underground or surrounding, from the foundations down and out or in, I don't think they've been bothered. So if we can start sampling those things, and if you were right and we could find virgin unopened rooms. And on that note, we wanted to go to Peru. And as everyone, if you haven't heard, there was not only a coup, but they even shut Machu Picchu down a few
yeah,
days ago. And what's really frustrating is just right across the border at Lake Titicaca, which is on the border between Peru and Bolivia. But Bolivia has Tiwanaku and Pumapunku, and there's nothing but a river of mud that's that's encased giant megalithic blocks. And I never touch on this because we wanted to find private, where we were looking was out of the reaches of the, I don't know, inept, cowardly, or just apparently unfinanced multi-billion-dollar institutions that won't issue permits or give archaeologists the resources to dig.
yeah,
But under Tiwanaku, there's been many reports through seismic testing of chambers, tunnels. There's a significant portion of Tiwanaku, and the whole paradigm there would shift if they would just have teams there digging, but they don't. And it's odd for institutions that could pretty much give free tuition to every student. So if they're not going to give students free tuition, I'm not usually I'm trying to come up with ways to enroll our standard academics, not have them be burned at the stake. But then where, like, what's the nudge for these people, Jim? Or is it hopeless?
I think it is. Yeah, it's probably pretty much hopeless, to the established locations. And I
Well,
mean, and I don't know why they want to keep everything close to the chest. It's like it's my ball, and I don't
I
want to
know.
play with you today. And it could be really, really significant.
Uh,
Yeah.
all right. John's up for joining, and I was trying to load this one from Wayne, and this one, Wayne, is that allegory of in our genetic memories, in the collective consciousness, we know we are more advanced. I mean, we have the stories from Solon, who Plato gets the stories from. Solon is in Egypt, and this is one of the times that we find out, and this is hundreds of years. This is way before Plato's, recanting Solon's stories, and the Egyptian priests explained to Solon that you Greeks are ancient and you are from a very intelligent and a very advanced group of people, and you guys, you're not living in that time. You're living in a fall. You're living in a descending information technology time. And then they go on to tell Solon, hey, we Egyptians are at least have a king's list that we go back at least 38,000 years, which kind of gets us close to Mount Toba by at least half of that 75,000 year mark. So maybe in the chaos after Mount Toba goes off in South Indonesia, there's this long period of just a few tens of thousands of humans in Neanderthal and Denisovan rebreeding, and then eventually there's enough of them to settle in Egypt, and then 40,000 years after Mount Toba goes off, about 35,000 years ago, at the time Solon was being spoken to. So maybe it was a little closer. Maybe it was more 45,000. So maybe it was only 25,000 years from Mount Toba going off, and then you have the Egyptians building their dynastic peoples, and they're telling Solon about the Atlanteans that, well, you guys are part of this. There was 10 cities, maybe there was 20, maybe there was 100, maybe there was 5, but are the Atlanteans just a story of all advanced people globally that you can find megalithic construction for, you can find ancient engineered soil for all over the earth, and those buildings are gone. So not everywhere there's megalithic buildings, by the way, there's ancient soil. Frequently of ancient soil and no buildings, because they could have been using plastics, glasses, woods, advanced polymers that don't exist anymore because they all dusted and went away. So were the Atlanteans just people that really were part of a surviving advanced group that also ended up bringing these lesser survivor groups education about agricultural, uh, just general farming, language, Viracocha of South America and Central America.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason the conquistadors were left alone at first. They thought Viracocha, a red bearded, red headed dude who had a man satchel, which we see from Göbekli Tepe to across the world, and the Anunnaki and the Sumerian myths. You have the man satchel, bearded, red-headed, red-bearded dude teaching them all this agriculture and all these things. So are they part of what we're calling Atlantean? And in reality, we always talk about Atlantis as the one city, but there were 10 cities and we have no description of that. So we get so hyper-focused on the one.
Yeah.
That's one problem. We don't think about the allegory of an advanced global race having maybe survivor pocket towns, cities, rest stops, and them helping more primitive people. So I think that if that uh, ties also into us going to Belize and the Jim, I mean, I think the questions we're trying to answer really tie into everything from the saucer you had behind you to these advanced seismic metastructures that are holding these polygonal buildings up. These are I don't think these questions are separate. Do you?
No, no. I mean, I think virtually, I think everything we're looking or we're trying to uncover are all interrelated. And the
Uh,
other thing when you look at they had this ancient civilization, they must have been able to travel in a blink of an eye all over the planet, because you go some of the remote locations in New Guinea and Southeast Asia and elsewhere, and places, I mean, remote places in Central America, South America, Africa, and they come up with these structures. and
Yeah.
they all have a similar leaning to them. Also, the same characters. Everybody's holding a purse or a satchel.
Yeah.
The lizard head, people. I mean, and it's in every single culture where we've identified and found ancient writing, hieroglyphics, or other types of markings. And thank goodness they left some, so at least we know, you know, what some of these people were thinking up to a point and what they may
Yeah.
have looked like.
Yeah. And there is and again, for everyone out there listening, these are common dialogues, and I've heard some pushback recently from some people who are fans of us individually and collectively, and they were talking about there are some shows that are kind of hyper repeating things they've already talked about. And what fascinates me is that I think we have this base of knowledge that we keep, we reference pretty well, like the dialogue between everyone, like, from everyone listening that's here now live to the number of, there's so many things we can repeat and talk about, like Atlantis and certain foundational things. The Baalbek ruins got brought up earlier in the chat, and we reference those things. But then there's new things. So like Terra Preta, no one's talking about it. There's been scientific papers for 100 years, but then we have sound and frequency within Terra Preta, within the megalithic blocks, within the stone spheres that are hollow. We have evidences in front of us that could be tested by every major institution on Earth, and they're not being tested. So, conspiracy or not, you have all these anthropological and biological departments that have the ability to test the Paracas elongated skulls. Why is it Brian Forster? Why is it Brian Forster? Whatever his methodology is, for any of you, anyone with any shred of credibility with these massive institutions behind you, how is it that you're not all over red-headed, elongated, cranially different? We're not talking deformed. We're talking very different structured skulls. So we have all these things we could be saying and talking about and documenting and filming, and it's not being done. It seems like I keep looking over our shoulders, and it's like, why isn't there a more global effort to pull all of this together?
Well, I think one of the key reasons is, the at least here in the U.S. is the government indoctrination centers called our public schools.
Yeah,
They don't teach. They just teaching these poor little mush brain kids just to memorize,
yeah, consume.
and not there's nothing associated with challenge their mind, challenging their investigative will.
There's
If you
no
want to call
person.
it.
Yep, there's no personal drive there. Oh, let's get a teacher's. Let's see what Wayne has to say here. Let's throw this one on. What do we got? They don't pursue because they act of as gatekeepers, and they don't want people to know the truth or think outside the box. You know what's true and also inherently sad about that. I guess I'm going to say that I don't think. I don't think it's even that complicated, because I think the teachers themselves, many of them have good intents, but I think they were indoctrinated themselves. So I don't even think.
We have 50 years of indoctrination. I mean,
Yeah,
it really started in the 70s, and if it started in 1973 and this is 2023, well, that's 50 years. That's a half a century. They have, and I'm talking about the government indoctrination centers, and I'm a victim of those, by the way.
how come I feel like you were probably smoking out back and skipping school?
You hit that number on the head right away, but
You can't like be told what to think if you're not in class, Jim.
no, I wasn't in class because they were telling me what to think, and that's not what I want. I wanted to learn. I wanted to be able to use this thing up here, other than keeping my ears apart, and being a nice, warm, cozy place for for a brain tumor. And in 2 days is the anniversary of Challenger blowing up, January 28th. It's also
Yeah.
the anniversary of my brain surgery, 9.5 hours of brain surgery and 11 hours on under anesthesia. So
You think they
now,
could have rechipped you then and brought you back into the fold?
no, no, I mean, because I was poisoned so bad, uh, and I was a class clown.
Yeah, there was
I either got A's and A pluses or F's.
one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I either really liked the class or I terrorized the teacher, and that's why
Yep.
I decided not to become a history teacher. I mean, I got straight A's at University of Minnesota. I went to the University of Washington. I got straight A's. I went to other courses here and there, and always got straight A's. It wasn't the fact that I was I didn't. I knew how to think, and they were just sort of in the transition where they were trying to push your way of thinking in this direction and not in the free thinking area. They want to control what you thought or how you came to that conclusion. And I didn't play well with their silly games, and I suffered from it. I had a chance to go to Stanford. My dad was a professor there, but I didn't want to have anything to do with the university system at the time and joined the Air Force. But
Well, the I think yeah, there's not. What's interesting is that for how did you manage to stay in the Air Force, Jim? By the way, given your independent thinking and what you did get away with while in uniform, how were you not thrown out? How did you not throw yourself out?
well, no, I really enjoyed my time in the Air Force. I really did. I dealt with a bunch of jerks. I dealt with some of the most wonderful people I've ever met in my life in the military. I think the world of anybody who's served. I don't care what branch, from Coast Guard up to being a Marine. The president of the class of 1963 of Los Altos High School. I knew him in high school. I wasn't friends with him, but he ended up retiring as a full bird Marine colonel, 2 or 3 tours in Vietnam, and he lives about 40 miles from me. And it is just weird to step back into a group of people that wouldn't have anything to do with me. I'm friends with those same people, and it just cracks me up.
It's interesting how much time and money is given. If you want to worry about what some academic institution thinks of you, at the same time, no matter what you've done out there for your own grades or your own research, who does Discovery Channel, even National Geographic, but History 2, History Channel, Netflix, Amazon, who's paying the millions of dollars for shows that get them thousands and tens of thousands of watch hours because people are fascinated by this and they didn't learn it in school?
No, they
No
didn't.
one's.
Today's kids don't know anything. I mean, they don't know. You hand them a screwdriver and a hammer. They have
Oh
no
no.
idea. They have no idea what to do with something. Breaks something minor. Blow a fuse.
Yeah,
What do I
or
do? What do I do? Oh, we got to call an electrician. A blown fuse or a pop circuit breaker. I
do
mean,
you, I don't think, Jim, honestly, I don't think some of those switches and some of those handheld game, I know some of them plug in and they charge without batteries or you don't have to change batteries. But honestly, I don't even think some of them know how to take out batteries.
no,
Like
I
just
don't think
take
so
the
either.
little panel,
Yeah,
I don't think they know how to do it.
yeah.
But it's not the only thing. I think, from Barry's point earlier about correct answers, what do the herd want to hear? Barry talked about, pyramids were built by slaves. They were built in biblical times. Aaron's point here about, I think it's always been about controlling a narrative, but I think the most infuriating thing though, on that point isn't because they want to just worry about, the truth getting out. I think it's so convoluted. I don't think the people who are even at the level of trying to control the narrative know what the truth is. I think they're just embarrassed about being wrong. I think
Yeah.
that's how separate the levels are. Is that you have an entire prima donna hubristic religion of academia that it's archaic. I mean, I feel like they're stringing I don't know. It's an embarrassment. It's almost like some sort of umbilical cord to stupidity and slow and slothy thinking that needs to be cut from the human genome.
I agree with you completely. Yeah.
How's that for graphic and violent and gross? Try to hit it all there, folks.
Yeah.
Where are we at with Michigan UFO sightings? I think there is also something about teaching catastrophic events and freaking common humans out. Um, uniformitarianism is a lot more fluffy.
What the?
And don't say that fast.
No, you can't. I
Well,
mean, the
so
the
one, oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, the environmental wackos have made everything has to be politically correct, and if you don't think the way they think, they want to destroy you. I mean, there doesn't seem like there's any avenue to just to discuss the possibilities of something happen.
Yeah, and
Don't confuse me with facts. My mind's made up, and that's it.
yeah, and when we were talking earlier, and Wayne brought this up before, this is Michigan UFO sightings, and he was talking about the megafauna, and one of the things he learned really early on, to paraphrase for him, and we should just have you on the show next time. But his question to these professors was, so let me get this straight: the global planet human population was able to run around and physically weed out 180 species of megafauna. He would ask that question, and professors were like, yes.
Yeah,
Like, you're like, half of you hunt and kill deer or anything with fur or meat, both if you can. And then the rest of you, you're all the Orkin man from Jurassic Park. You're all like, just kill all these, megafauna. We have all the time of the world, all the
yeah,
time of the world.
yeah,
Well, and then Barry makes another great point about, and this has been a common one. It's like, well, and I've heard uh, some really successful archaeologists say, well, you get heaven points, you get heaven, you get to go to heaven better. So you're a slave, Barry, but once you know how beautiful heaven will be for you, you're going to be a slave, but you're going to still carve the most beautiful, precision oriented, totally CNC, as of, Christopher Dunn looking CNC, like absolute laser perfect statue, but you're doing it for heaven points,
yeah.
which has always motivated you, right, Jim? I mean,
Oh,
one more cigarette.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
So, well, it looks like we're gonna have to nail Wayne down for a show date. Maybe we'll have him on next week,
Well, that'd be
and
fun.
then, uh, yeah, I don't think that last minute Wayne. We're gonna have to like. I mean, we're doing good now, but definitely be prepared. Then we'll have Michigan UFO sightings on next week. Then, if you're good with that.
Oh, yeah, I am.
All right,
Absolutely,
cool.
absolutely.
But yeah, I don't think that we're in what we're our expedition is doing. There's a lot of layers to it, because one of them is you're pulling together people who have really, really, really incredible testing equipment, and their mindset is open to the data, not a preconceived notion of what the data should show them or tell them. And I think the energy anomalies on this site, I think the really rich growing soil, I want to figure out our hypotheses and further along an understanding of even the dynastic people. But this is important that we acknowledge that not only was there the Mayans, or what we think of as the last 13,000 years, but we know from the father of South American archaeology that there were people there killing mastodons 35,000, 38,000 years ago. We know from Huitlaco, Mexico, that there's signs of humanity being there 330 to a half a million years ago. So there's layers upon layers that we should all respect those peoples. But also there's modern people there, like our hosts, that are letting us come down. And I am looking forward to providing data that will help them for their endeavors, whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to be doing um, and for everyone out there listening, we should be throwing this out weekly until we get this nailed down. But we have a ground lidar team, but we are looking for a flight drone lidar team or persons to look at. We have 7,000 acres to look at, but in reality, we're focusing on where there are two pyramids, Terra Preta, which is just about everywhere to the coast. But if there is someone out there that would like to contact me or Jim, not aliens, it's us. You can find my email on notaliens.com. Reach out, please, if you think you would be just thrilled to spend a week or so being a grunt. Then you can also reach out. There's still some room. And yeah, as far as the trip goes, this is just the start. I mean, we're not going to stop there. And I'm sure we're going to be able to just go straight to some megalithic bases, some megalithic. And I say that out there because, like the Temple of Jupiter that got brought up earlier, the Baalbek site, so the base, the trilithons that they're always talking about that are 900 to 1100 tons. And then in the quarry, just about 3-4 kilometers from Baalbek, there's one that, again, I don't know why they confuse our history. They call it the Stone of the Pregnant Mother, but it's a cut 1,200 ton block that is stuck in like it was being lifted and then it got dropped and then it got abandoned and left there. And I think that those sites, they do exist all around the world, but we need to have a site that is controlled by private and curious people, like America's Stonehenge, Dennis Stone. There is definitely active archaeological work done, by people who care about history and the facts. So it's not like these great these people that are looking to help us here and invite us for the opportunity to do the research here. We're not going to not have some megalithic foundations to get at, but at this site, it's a chance for us to. I mean, I'm looking forward to doing a whole site plan. What would it look like to do this in 50 years, 25 years, 10 years, 5 years? What would it take to analyze this site, every square inch of it, rather than a lot of what I find it hilarious that I've been to multiple sites now where I ask, well, what's your plans to dig more? And they're like, well, we've only dug 3%, 5%, 6%. There's a lot here, but we need to find another site. That's their answer. I want to find another site.
Well,
But
wait, how about taking the site you already have? I mean, that you've already done research on, and you have access to, and start doing some analysis of the
yeah,
soils and the chemical makeup of some of some of this the structures. An analysis of, okay, this is granite or whatever it is. Is it the same as when it was taken out of the ground? Has it been altered? Is it
yeah,
does it have unique properties? Does it respond to a specific frequency? I mean,
yeah,
you
and
go back and listen to Tesla, and he said everything, the energy's in the air, and everything revolves around frequencies.
I totally agree. Your starting image was Stonehenge,
Yep.
and I know it came up in the comments earlier. One of the things, when I'm talking about looking at core sampling, I'm looking at the ground and the foundation, which is dirt and or what frequently I think is mistaken for bedrock. And in reality, it could be if they're moving 1,000-ton blocks for them to pre-compact a ground, I don't think it would be very hard for them to do that. So whatever the ground is, I think is going to indicate maybe some of these little nano-sized seismic metastructures that were helping with energy frequencies, communication, not just earthquake technology. But the Stonehenge recently made news because they're called the Sarsen stones. So the
Yeah.
oldest ones, yeah, they're made out of silicrete, and those silicrete, we only know what we know now because there was a experiment that was allowed where they core sampled one of them in the 50s, and that sample was given as a gift to one of the Americans that was helping with it, and it was in Texas for years. They
Hmm.
repatriated it, they researched it, found that the Sarsen stones were almost 100% silicrete, and that's a very unique property. So why on earth were if they were primitive, why on earth would they care that they were essentially making columns entirely out of something that would be a great solid state hard drive?
Yeah.
And again, we're assuming that again, the it's been said over and over, the Stonehenge we look at is, and we're not talking about Stonehenge tonight, but that site is a incarnation of tourism. It's not what the site originally looked like. They left stones out. They don't have everything, and more importantly, we're assuming that Stonehenge uh, is in its original form, when in reality, the more complex Sarsen stones, they seem to be from an earlier period, which is why they're so weathered, which I think points to that higher technology, and they were probably dragged or placed in that circle. But again, you have to be open to the questions. We have to like maybe drill into other megalithic blocks in order for us to really start understanding the material sciences, which has never been a question. Everything's a temple, everything's a tomb. There is no material science to look at. These buildings weren't used for communication, they were not used for anything complex. They're strictly primitive circles, pyramid shaped
No,
sacrifice.
there had to be a level of advanced thinking and ability to to move those stones from the quarries. And I think the bluestones come from what, 200 miles away. And
Yeah,
I've wandered around Stonehenge, and there isn't there aren't any roads going back 10,000 years ago to
no.
the quarries. How in the heck did they get those from Wales to Stonehenge? And
Right. Why would they, what if the roads, what if when they got the stones, one, they were maybe using natural, or they were building them out of silicrete, like a concrete with a polymer, we don't know. And they may have not dragged them or brought them or floated them, as it's been alleged, to Stonehenge.
uh,
What if all the henges that they've been finding, like right next to Stonehenge, that was the other thing that kind of, there was a series of things. There was the Sarsen stone core sample that got repatriated and they released data on it. There was the fact that they found, this is just a couple of years ago, they found wider and wider, 2 mile diametered henges that were literally right pretty much on top of that existing henge.
mhm.
And they just didn't notice the patterns. So what if all these Sarsen stones were available to make these giant circles because they were, again, part of a larger construction, a Baalbek, a Temple of Jupiter type construction, that they just quarried all the stones out of some collapsed, ruined building from tens of thousands of years ago, and they got into building circles. We
Yeah.
just, we don't know. So I think not only do we not have a road from the quarry to where Stonehenge is now, or any of the henges, we're just assuming that, well, this is their original in situation placement. This is exactly where they were supposed to be, and we don't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, it just drives me batty.
I mean, I was watching a piece yesterday on moving some of these megalithic structures, and they had one of the biggest cat forklifts. I mean, this thing can lift thousands of tons, and it was literally bending. It was this is the one that has the 10-foot tall tires. in the quarries, and they were trying to move this block, and it wasn't a long one; it was a short one, and there are bigger ones that haven't moved, like the one you were saying that apparently dropped, or and they just
Yeah.
abandoned it. We have no idea how in the heck they got it to where it was before they abandoned it.
Yeah. There's just there's just too many other questions that we should even put on that again, tabling the questions I think are as important as the answers.
Yeah.
We have to test out what we're theorizing, and the current paradigm in the story, and the primitive look at, well, there's the quarry, and then I hate the follow-up part where this is a frequent one, and I'm going to digress on this for a second. They'll say, well, these stones came from this quarry, but we found the other quarry, and it's like, or we found where they were still doing it. Well, did primitive people really build the fancy sarsen stones that may have, when they were unweathered, be perfectly straight and polished and
Hmm.
perfect, and there could be epoxies on them, and there's the little nubs? Like,
Yeah.
who builds like that uh, in primitive times? But then there's these primitive versions. Same thing on Easter Island. The earliest basalt Easter Island heads, just like the sarsen stones and Stonehenge, the earliest ones are the most complex. They're the most difficultly built. There's polygonal construction and stone spheres on Easter Island. But then as it gets primitive, you have islanders going, well, I can't cut. Well, we tried. We couldn't cut the silicrete. But hey, you know, Krog found another one, and we can build it out of this stone. So you have a change in stone, a change in building technique, maybe even a wipeout of an entire generation or 100 years of tribes, or a religious sect that nobody then does anything with the henges, and then, or it gets mutated to another. Either way,
Hmm.
we look at the chronology of these quarries and say, well, they're contemporary to the one time this got built, and it drives me nuts because it's it's so obviously oh, this is
Yeah.
my inside voice, folks. This is not very social of me. I'm just yeah. So that is true, by the way. Michigan UFO sightings. I have a great picture in my book of the Easter Island heads at the British Museum that Fiona took for me, and we have original photography. And at Göbekli Tepe, the crane. There's a crane on one of the pillars, or some of the pillars, and it's identical to the ones on Easter Island.
Yeah.
So yeah, that, and it's interesting. This next quote goes all the way back to the god and goddesses ages, but even further back, they were celestials here on Earth. It seems like so. That this overall thematically. Oh yeah, don't forget about handbakes. But thematically, what Angel's bringing up is that we have the Green Man. For those of you who have not read the stories of the Green Man, born of a virgin, basically it's the entire Christ story, but it's much, much more ancient. And this brings us back to that whole Michael Cremo, forbidden archaeology, millions of, see, this is something that's hard for people. You have paleoanthropological standard academics going
Hmm.
out early in the process, finding 20 million, well, okay, hundreds of thousands, 3 million, 2 million, 5 million, 4 million, 15, 20 million, 30 to 60 million, 60 million to 120 million, 120 million plus year old boot prints. And what you have then, at least contemporary in the last 6,000 years, you got the Hindu Vedas saying, hey, gods have been here for millions of years. Yet
Hmm.
we have a human, actual modern anatomical human presence going back millions of years. So it's easy for us to get lost and say, hey, there was at some point, yes, did we come from Mars? Did we come from the solar system? Did we originate here on Earth, or did we come here? Is a question, right?
Someone, yeah, yeah. Someone posted something that Earth was a penal colony for the universe.
Well, welcome to Scientology.
Yeah.
And that would be, I still have not been able to confirm whether or not L. Ron Hubbard really did the urban. I don't know if it's an urban myth or a fact. Apparently, L. Ron Hubbard and Asimov were very good friends, and he bet Asimov that he could start a religion, and that's how Scientology happened. And the
Yeah.
whole idea is all the bad penal souls of the universe were stuck into volcanoes on Earth. I mean, I'm not going to get into it, but what a ridiculous amount of crap you got to feed someone to go for that.
If you put enough sugar on it, it's palatable.
Yeah, and there's Barry. That's important. You should know what's in your handbag. But you're, the craft behind you on your screen. There's the point. I mean, are we looking at what humans would have been riding around in a million years ago, half million years ago, pre Mount Toba, post Mount Toba? I mean, what is our origin story? Were we celestially like? Oh yeah, someone's gonna call in with an answer.
Yeah. No, it's my oldest friend.
Well, they got a little bit of time, but this is these are the questions I think that by digging into the actual technology of the foundation of these buildings, really getting something down about what to do with the engineered soils and how they actually really function. And again, the missing element is always, how do we connect to the ground that connects to the soil, that connects to the construction that isn't Mayan but more megalithic. So the experiments we can do, I feel like all the elements are necessary. We need the soil to at least be a little active. We need the right currents, the right frequencies, the right energies, and somehow tying. I mean, we're independently doing research. I saw, oh, you'll like this. I saw a paper, should have brought it up, and it's about frequencies being used to tune cellular aging backwards in mice. What do you think of that?
They're also using frequency as a way to combat severe depression. They're starting to use that, and also some other ailments. They say that if you tune in on a certain, blast a certain frequency towards the human body, it has the human body reacts in a way as to heal itself from that particular anomaly, whatever it is. And the other thing that's interesting, both in the in all the ancient cultures, they start up here, really advanced, and there's no pre-Egyptian buildings, no pre-Egyptian construction. There was no
Yeah.
ramp up to the technology. Boom, it was here, and it went downhill from there.
Yeah, it makes no sense that every generation they're building worse and worse and worse. It
Yeah,
it doesn't add. It makes absolutely no sense,
right.
and it's difficult as anyone who does building architecture engineering. Again, it's just I don't think people get. We've talked about you doing instrument and aeronautical craft restoration.
Hmm.
It's no different if you restore anything, folks. If you do, whether it's I'm doing period remodeling on homes. You're not just dealing with an original machine, maybe more so in aviation, but even in aviation, you have something that's been crashed, you have something that's been repaired or has different mechanics working on it, and no one does it the same. So you're dealing with a discerning eye to correct something whenever you obtain it, right, Jim? You're
Right.
you're, you're starting with a lot of other people's mistakes or inputs.
Hmm.
I think that's the same thing that's going on with these constructions. We're not looking at any single culture or a period of a culture where they were managing the buildings. I don't even think it's taken into account enough. When we think of neglect, we think, oh, well, eventually all these cities were abandoned. Yeah, but I don't think we consider the abuse in the period of abandonment. That not only were the they were abandoned, but sometimes quarried out. I mean, everyone knows the Great Pyramid was quarried for other constructions, but what about just periods of ruin where it was a few hundred people going, we're going to build a little castle over here, it'll be safer, or a
Yeah.
little earthbound ruin. There's just so many. I think having an eye for our kind of remodeling and restoration and period work, I think lends automatic. You have to be open to seeing what's in front of you as being, in the case of these ruins that are allegedly Egyptian or Greek or Roman or Mayan or Olmec, Toltec, whatever, or Aztec, they're just, well, yeah, they built on something that was there, and and how much did they carve into an existing ancient structure or modify it to put a face on it, or how many times was it redone? It's just, I don't, those are all interesting questions. I think we need to be more serious about coming up with the questions than we do the answers.
Well, the other thing that we need to do, and I don't know if it's been done. I don't. You more in tune to that end of it than I am. Has anybody ever done a chemical analysis of the stones? You
Yeah.
know, just get a just break off a corner, or pick up a shard, if we can, if it matches the structure, bring it back and have it analyzed. Have it, have someone go into it that has access to metallurgical and equipment for doing analysis of materials. And
And
they're,
I'm
they're
really hoping that I'm really hoping we can get to a mobile lab that can do a lot of our work just on site. That way, we can get the answers in a controlled way, and we can get it and might even guide us immediately into other realms or other locations. I mean, drone lidar, ground lidar, seismic, some geoseismic stuff. Again, dynastic peoples, super cool. We could uncover a whole new. I'm a little curious about this too, because you'll see a pyramid complex and the main courtyard will get cleared, and they think it's always a hyper focus. But I can't think of a lot of examples, even with Jen Deo's help and her research. I can't really think of a current South or Central American site where they go left or they go right or they go outside of a main courtyard and make it a priority to uncover the roads and the things that we've seen now in Guatemala with the LiDAR scans showing tens of thousands of buildings and pyramids. It almost seems as if I don't know. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
just they'll just do one small section, and the sight lines looking out for miles away, it's likely all construction, it's all buildings, but I don't understand why it hasn't been. Yes, there's some common sense ones. War, conflicts, cartels. There's a million reasons why certain areas in South America they haven't continued beyond certain areas. Money, but yeah, I'm hoping we could bring a new perspective to this, a new generation, a new group. Honestly, kind of a SpaceX approach.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if we were, there's literally NASA. NASA has had years to be SpaceX. They're
Yep.
not.
Yep.
So I guess I'm hoping we can bring the same thing to this world.
It would be fun.
Oh,
It'd be fun.
geez, can't believe I just said that. Might want to calm down a little. So the plan, everyone, again, for those of you who've joined us, we're going to be doing an expedition. We'll be looking for ancient engineered soil, a couple of pyramids. We're looking for megalithic blocks. We're doing LiDAR work. We have a really good, smart, interesting, adventurous group going that will be participating at all levels, and we'll be filming, and we'll hopefully be able to bring that to you in the form of a documentary. Very fascinating, very large swath of land in what really was prior Mayan Definitely highly active Mayan culture and empire. This is an area that was right on the coast. It's one of the squeeze points between Atlantic and Pacific trade. You know, maybe pre-Panama Canal, and there is a good chance that we could find not only maybe megalithic blocks, but within 10 miles of this location, crystal skulls have been found, crystal jaguars. There are pottery shards. There is dynastic ruin all over the site that we are going to. There's weird energy anomalies, which haven't really focused on that for you guys, but they have walked there. The owners have literally experienced reverberating, low bass, um, just really rumbling bass sounds that's humming coming right from the ground as they were moving between the areas where the ruins are. So there's a lot of mystery along with a ghost or haunted island
Yeah.
nearby. So we're, yeah, Jim, you worried about an island being haunted?
No, no, I've been married 3 times, so
Well, what if she's like the ghost in charge?
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I just I'm really excited about our trip. I really am. It's just going to be just
Uh,
a real kick.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Uh, so come, we're solid guys. Everybody, we have a solid 10 minutes. So for that time remaining, there are ways for you to support Jim and I on this trip. So we're going to get into that, and we'll still be chatting a little bit here. But partially, like I said, we are looking for aerial droning with LiDAR capabilities. So if anyone's out there, please contact either of us. You know, my email's on notaliens.com along with other information. We're getting the site is getting updated as we speak. There's still a member area. That's another way to support Not Aliens. You can join up. There's cool content. There's going to be a lot of new content. However, right now, that's a way to support the channel and also my research. And all the money 100% goes into maintaining, updating, and now for the Belize trip. So if you want to join, there's a monthly membership for $7. There's one for $39.95 for the year. And then for Jim, boy, we got let's see, one of 28 books to choose from. And how else could people visit, find you, and support you?
Yeah, pretty much. If you're interested in my books, and I will go in and put the my background up so you can see what I'm dealing with this second. Yeah, we can go to Amazon.com, put in, punch in my name, James C. Goodall, and put books by James C. Goodall. And these these are the the books you're going to see. Come on, there we go. And I have I have 28 that are in print, or actually 27 that are available right now. The ones on top, my Blackbird, the Skunk Works, and the B2, and then my submarine books. I'm currently finishing up going through about 60,000 words of text on on. Here we go. Here we go. On this book right here, and that should be out this summer. And I cover all 227 plus nuclear powered submarines built and operated for the United States Navy. And it's just fun. I love doing this stuff. It keeps my brain working. But I'm more excited about going to Belize, and we may be walking in places that humans haven't walked for 10,000 years, 20,000
That is
years.
true. You know, they may have walked by like some of the mountains or what are really probably buried constructions. We may walk by, you know, they may have walked by them, but they didn't go on them.
Yeah.
We could be walking through areas that once it was abandoned were just simply again, nobody's been there. The area was occupied 3,000. This area dates to the earliest Mayan. portions, at least again, this is just the academic statement, is
Yeah.
3,000 years, but they could. Oh, here you go, Jim.
Uh,
Oh, see, it's good for you, and apparently that's a way for me to maybe get my uh, button gear.
get your book done.
Well, look, so I'm where Jim is, which is I'm almost through looking at the final copy edits,
Hmm.
where it's been written, it's been edited, and now it's the layout part where we're making sure, like what Jim's doing with the photos, and I have hundreds. Jim has hundreds. I need to make sure that all the captions read right, that
And
the yeah
I mean, and that's a challenge, especially if I know in my Blackbird book that it was a real challenge. There's only 50 airplanes. The B2 there was only 21. So you had to come up. You had to get really creative when you're doing captions. You can't say B2 painted gray spirit
yeah.
of Kitty. Excuse me, Kitty Hawk. Excuse
Yeah,
me. So
do you try to do you, Jim? Do you try to add information in the captions? Because I do.
well now the reason I started doing what I'm doing versus my F-117 book, the very first one, sold 67,000 copies.
Whoa.
That was mostly text, and not lot of it by today's standards, but it was mostly text. My books are virtually they're pictorial histories, and I came to the conclusion years ago that I'd go out and buy a book on an airplane. I'm an airplane nut. I would go through, and if it was from Squadron Signal or one of the other companies that specialize in a lot of detail, and I would get these books and I would go through and I would look at all the photos and read all the captions. I already know the technical stuff on 99% of it, and I said, I have a lot of photos, and I could use a lot more than I currently can have to paint a more complete picture of what the program that I'm writing about. So I do everything chronologically, and my captions are and some of them are very very extensive. I've been told, your captions are too big. I said that's the text.
Right.
There's the visual, and then there's the part that the part you want to see, and you want to it whets the appetite. It gets you going. You read a caption, and then it leads directly to the next image,
Yeah.
and working its way down. So if you like, these are actually the six books I have behind me that you can see. Those pretty much would be coffee table type books. I'm very very proud of them. When the
The-
six of the 11 head guys of the Skunk Works have my Blackbird book and my Skunk Works book. And Sherm Mullen, Jack Gordon. Oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. Jeff Davion, Rob Weiss. They said these are what tell the story about the Lockheed Skunk Works or the Blackbird. And then I did the same thing with the B2. And
You know,
my love affair with submarines. Why? Why submarines? They're black. They're
yeah.
stealth, and they're deadly. They meet all my criteria, and nobody knows anything about them. All you see is the sail, and then maybe the top 3 feet of
Yep.
the hull. When they were at work, you don't see them at all.
Jim, I wonder if anybody, I don't know if you've done this in the past, but maybe some of these guys, Skunkworks has had such an incredible history and being not just brilliant, but execution wise. I wonder if some of them wanted to, maybe we should be doing a show with them once in a while. Some of them.
I will ask a friend of mine, known him for 40 years. He was the number 3 guy at the Skunk Works when he retired. And
Um,
he's an artist. He is an adventurer. He's also 6'7", so he sort of stands out in the crowd.
oh wow.
And he may be, his office is in Mojave, but his work site is in Las Cruces, and it's Virgin Galactic. And he goes back and forth, and he said, "What's your address?" So I gave him my address. He said, "All right, I got that. I got that nailed down." I said, "You and your wife are welcome here anytime. If you're transferring through the area, stop on by. We'd love to have you." So that would be fascinating. And what I'm going to
Yeah.
do, what I'll do, I mean, he is one of the most fascinating guys I've ever had the honor and the privilege of calling a friend. But the most important one, as far as spooky stuff goes, is my relationship with the late Ben Rich. I still don't know how that came about. I think it was destiny. It was my destiny to you know to have Ben Rich part of my life, and the skunk was
Yeah.
part of my life. I mean, my gosh, I go back to age 11. That's when I got locked up in the XF-104 prototype at Moffett Field. It was at Ames, wind tunnel complex there, the NASA Ames. And
Yeah.
my relationship and my passion for all things skunkworks, go back 60 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I just absolutely love this stuff, and I've been blessed to have the access and meet the people that I've met in this quest. And when it comes to aerospace, I'm not an aerospace engineer. I never worked for Lockheed. I was a senior NCO in the Air Force, but I have a drive, and
Yeah.
you don't really start pushing things until your customer says no, or the people you're dealing with are going to say no. And it's like, if someone says, you were trying to sell them something, they said, sure. You're not selling anything. You're accommodate them. If he says, no, I don't want that piece of garbage, and you can convince him that he really should have it, that's when you know you're a salesman.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
that's why I've done what I've done with these books up here and the submarines. I mean, I had
they're really beautiful.
I had a submarine guy. I said I got on the U.S. at Connecticut. He said, "How'd you do that?" And I said, "It took me 7.5 years." And I said, I covered it from the reactor bulkhead forward. He said, "They lit you on with a camera." This guy was a submarine officer, and he just thought that was the most incredible thing he'd ever heard. And I did. I covered every square inch I could of that submarine, and it's in the volume, not this one, but this one right here, volume 2.
That's
So
wild.
you have to push it. You have to accept the fact that you're going to have a lot of people say no. Yeah,
Yeah.
or they're going to have gatekeepers that you can't get to. I know
Right.
when I wanted to send Elon Musk my BlackBird book, because his favorite airplane in the whole wide world is the A-12, which is the CIA version of the BlackBird. I called a buddy of mine at Aviation Week, and I said, "Okay, how can I get something personally to Elon Musk?" So he told me who to send it to, and I did, and he got it. And sometime within the next 3 weeks, I'm getting a tour of SpaceX. Myself, Michael Schratt, and Joel Christopher Payne, the three of us. I was trying to get 4, and they're limiting it to 3. But I'm going to try. Once I go through that, and I know some of the people, I will try to get another tour, and I'll drag your butt with me.
Oh, well, no, I'll drag yours. So just as soon as you get that yes,
Yeah.
if there's a yes on a Thursday, we could go on a Friday or a Saturday.
Right. Right. Right.
But that's kind of the way you do it anyway. So just photograph everything they tell you no, and or do what
What
you do and meet
it's
27 people, and we'll go again.
Yeah, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission in a lot of things.
So, and you think the Catholics would have trained people better? It's so true.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Well,
if you were raised
I
that way.
started out as a Catholic and ended up as a Lutheran, and now I'm just sort of here. But
Hey, Coke, Pepsi.
yeah, yeah,
Um, you're slight difference. Um, so everybody who joined us tonight, thank you so much.
Yes.
We have a hard stop here in about a minute, so thanks again. We'll keep you updated about Belize. We're gonna have to do a show right up until Jim actually goes to SpaceX. And no, yes, as he put it, I will not be going this time unless Willy Wonka has an extra gold ticket somewhere.
Once I get the formal thing, I will ask if we can get one more person. And if I do, if I can get one more body, I'll let you know, and you'll have to get your butt out there.
I will fly right out. So, or I'm not too far away. I could actually drive. Might be able to do that.
Yeah, you hit 15. It's I've driven from Boise back to Tucson a day. So you could get on 15 and just head south. You hit 10 and then just head towards LA.
Yeah. Well, then next week we will give you guys more updates. We have more stuff to talk about. We have a couple guests potentially next week. They run the gamut from some frequency energy, airplane related, and aerospace engineer background sort of guest. There are some, of course, it sounds like the ether has Michigan UFO sightings Wayne coming on.
Yeah.
So next week we'll have it scheduled sooner, so you guys will know when it's going and when it's happening. And I mean, maybe we'll start a little bit earlier.
And
Maybe
you're gonna have your permanent place set up here soon, correct?
yes, because so for everyone, I moved locations. I'm in Utah now, and Xfinity is taking their sweet time on, getting me access within the confines of what will be my new office. So I'm enjoying our public works systems and at one of the local county, very, very, very nice libraries, and filming and obviously doing this here, which has been very accommodating. I'm in a very pretty glass office.
Yeah, yeah. And
But yeah,
when we, I don't know if you've heard about it or if you've been invited, but Dave Scott has a gathering in Las Vegas in May, 22nd, 3rd, and 4th. And there's a lot of people are going. It's going to be it's not a conference. It's just a gathering of like-minded people.
it's a soiree with no convention floor. I mean, we're just
Correct.
gathering.
Yep, yep,
It's a true Lord of the Rings gathering.
yep, yep. And I had a laugh. We were, when we were there last year, there were people, coming by that I know they're the missing link. I mean, I just can't believe some of the people that wander around Las Vegas.
Oh yeah,
They don't own mirrors, and they've never had anybody. I mean, when you look at them, when someone looks at you and they go, that's not a good sign. So,
yeah, yeah.
and and anybody out there that that has more money than they know what to do with, we could use a benefactor of some sort to move this along. We're going to be presenting a perspective, just one page on what
Yeah.
we're trying to do, and we need X number of dollars. It's not a lot, and we'll just see what we can do.
Yeah, you know what? Thank you, Jim, for saying that. We definitely are not afraid. There's a lot more for us to say on that privately. For those of you out there that may want to contribute more significantly, there's a whole nother. There is a layer to this expedition and all of our future expeditions, where they're not only not a one-time thing, but from a filming and documentarian standpoint, we'd love to talk to all of you out there. So anybody who has, as Jim put it, more money they know what to do with, this would be redefining the Earth's past and future is decent bragging rights, I think, over just a car.
They could be part of discovering what could be the 21st century Rosetta Stone.
That's exactly right. So hell, I'm capstoning it with that, Jim. Thanks for joining us tonight, everyone.
As
And
usual.
we will see
Great.
you next week.
All right. Take care. Thank everybody, and you have a wonderful evening. And if you're lucky you left Minneapolis, it's supposed to get brutally, bitterly cold next week. And they have
Actually,
53 inches of snow so far in January.
Jim, I did just hear that it was Jim and I are talking offline. You guys all go watch your next show.
Take care.
Um,
Thanks.
but
Thanks for joining us.